excuse my water. So thank you all for coming. In the beginning, I thought, well, I don't need to speak to Jewish congregations. They already get it. I need to go to churches and colleges. And then I thought, no, you know what? I need to speak wherever I can, because all of those Jews who get it have 30 other friends who maybe don't, or children who don't, or friends who don't. So I'm very happy to speak wherever I can. I'm very thankful Rebecca invited me. Thank you, Rabbi, everyone, for having me. And I first want to say I'm not a politician. I'm not a public speaker by profession. I am a mom who made Aliyah 12 years ago, before I was a mom. I'm just a Jew, an American, an Israeli, and I will share with you guys my personal experience and what this has all felt like. So I made Aliyah in 2012 by myself. I was single, and I'm not the typical Aliyah story that I lost my job and what should I do now, or take a year after college. I was I was working in the merchandise mart, and I had a condo in Lincoln Park and a nice car, and I was in sales, and my job was just getting better and better, and it wasn't, I wasn't down and out. And anyway, I just had become very, very Zionist and an activist through AIPAC things. And I remember when the flotilla happened, I was in the, protests downtown that Hamas, it's Hamas, it's not peace activists. I just started getting very involved, and I felt like I was always defending Israel, and I was always explaining Israel. And I'm just going to go live there where I don't have to defend it and explain it anymore. And I quit my job and sold my car and rented out my condo and left. And like Rebecca said, I also was still single here. And I said, if I'm still single and I'm 34, I'm just going. I feel like my husband's in Israel. So that was true. Only a little less than 1 year later, I met my now husband. And I made Aliyah to Tel Aviv, because there aren't very many single Americans that say, woo, I'm making Aliyah to the Gaza border. So I made Aliyah to Tel Aviv, and like Rebecca said, my husband was born and raised in Ashkelon, went on to get a PhD, and he was working in Sderot. And after we were engaged, we moved to Ashkelon. He wanted to immediately move to Kibbutz Zikim, where one of his sisters is living, and he had been renting out a small apartment, and he loved it there. And I knew that Zikim was on the Gaza border, and I wasn't quite ready to do that yet. So we moved to Ashkelon, which is only a 12-minute drive from Zikim. But in terms of how many seconds you get when a rocket comes, you get a whole 30 seconds, which feels like a dream, because in Zikim you get 5 to 8 seconds. So I wasn't ready to live in Zikim. We lived in Ashkelon, but we lived there through the Protective Edge War, where I was 7 or 8 months pregnant and spending a lot of time in the safe room, in the Mamad. And after that, I thought, what's the difference? Zikim is 5 minutes away, so let's go build a home. We moved to Zikim about 7 years ago. We built from scratch a gorgeous house. I was in the merchandise mart. This was like right up my alley, interior design. I picked out every door handle. I picked out, my husband's like, oh my God, like not only am I American, I'm into interior design. We need, how do you say carnies? Like trim, I don't know. So we got complimented that our house was beautiful. So later he thanked me. But we built it from nothing, and we have avocado trees, mango trees, pomelo trees, macadamia trees. We have bougainvillea running it's gorgeous. We have this gorgeous home. This was a great place for our girls to be in the gan, in the daycare. We had a petting zoo. We have one of the biggest, refet in English, cow barns, in the country. And my kids were, running through the kibbutz. It was great. However, I made note when we moved there in my personal opinion, there weren't enough mamads, safe rooms. The public areas had them. So you had a mamad near the sports field, and every house had it, of course, and you have it. And my brain was already a little bit thinking, well, if we have a siren and we only get 5 to 8 seconds, what if we're over here and the next? So in my personal opinion, there was always like a little bit of this worry. And my husband was like, Hamas is annoying, but they're just annoying. They send rockets now and then. Because he grew up, he was used to it and grew up here, and he says, they're annoying. They send rockets now and then, but the real danger is really Hezbollah. They can wipe us off the earth. Hamas is just kind of annoying. We get rockets now and then. So in the first few years of us living there, that was the case. There would be days, and you probably it's not on the news, because it's just the Gaza border. Who really cares? And in my personal opinion, that was kind of the mentality of the Israeli government. Unless it goes to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, that's just the communities on the Gaza border. So you don't even hear about it. You don't even know that it's happening. But you need to be on alert. All of the daycares in the kibbutz double as a safe room. So instead of having to run all the kids to a specific room, you just have to be inside. So there would be days, random days, where things were on more high alert, and the kids are not going to go for a walk today. They're not going to go to the petting zoo today. They're going to stay in the gan, and we would get a message that that's one of those days. And this is just how we lived. There's a high point in the kibbutz, the highest point in the kibbutz, that if you walk up there, you can see Gaza. And we would also have some days where Hamas was feeling kind of riled up, and we shouldn't go to the highest place of the kibbutz because you're an eye shot of just being shot at. So we would get messages, don't go to this, don't go here today. So slowly things started getting a little more unbearable. Hamas likes to burn tires every Friday afternoon in I don't know what purpose, except that we can't breathe and we have to close our windows. So again, this was like an annoyance, but I didn't feel like my life is in danger. They're just stupid and polluting the environment, and let them burn their idiots, okay. And then they start sending their incendiary balloons. At which point, I had 4 and a 6-year-old at that point, and I'm teaching them, don't go near balloons. There are birthday parties. There's a flyaway balloon. Don't go near the balloon. Stay away from balloons. What are you teaching your kids? They have to stay away from balloons. You probably didn't hear that once Hamas even sent an eagle with an explosive attached to it. Where are the animal rights organizations? Whoops, they don't care. It's going to Israel. We don't care. So then we got used to living like that. There'd be fires. I'm driving my daughter to ballet. There's a fire. Okay, there's another fire. So you don't hear about all this on the news either, but this is what it became like living in this gorgeous community in Israel, but like suffering from Hamas all the time. And it wasn't even always in Israeli news, because whatever, it's just in the south. They just burnt a field today, or beehives, or whatever damage these balloons, and it's just... So this was not the first time we had been evacuated. I just want to say, during the last war, when we were evacuated, my, at the time, 7-year-old daughter had been learning about the Jewish Chagim, the Jewish holidays in school. And she was learning that most of the Jewish holidays are celebrating that we didn't die. I mean, most of the Jewish holidays are celebrating that somebody tried to kill us or annihilate us or burn down the temple, and we're still alive. So we were evacuated to a hotel, at which point, I should back up a little and say, when we were evacuated, after we packed up and got to my car, oops, I didn't have a car. My back windshield was blown out from shrapnel. We had to take my husband's car. We got to the hotel and she said, Ima, it's the Tseva Adom holiday. Because to her it happens once a year, like the Jewish holidays that happen once a year. Once a year, We celebrate the destruction of the temple, but we won. Once a year, Paro tried to get us at, and we won. Oh, now it's the rocket Hamas trying to kill us, Chag. I mean, that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking that my 7-year-old thinks this is the annual. Meanwhile, like, the media here doesn't really even, like, I was telling a Jewish person, he said, I didn't even know that happened. I mean, so anyway, so we'll get to the media and all that. But so I'm going to talk about now the latest, which is, I don't have the words. Okay. So this last episode is different, we all know, from anything that has ever been. And I used to say to my husband when we moved there, and he was telling me how safe it is, I said, well, what if Hamas comes up through a biyuv, like a sewer? Because I knew about the tunnels. And he's like, they're not going to come up through a sewer. So anyhow, this felt like a Fauda episode that I lived. So my parents were visiting for Sukkot. When we built our house from scratch, we built the whole basement as a miklat, as a safe room. Paid extra. The whole basement is reinforced, and it has a bathroom and a bedroom, and we didn't finish the kitchen, but it has pipes for kitchen, because we thought this is going to double as when my parents visit, they can stay down here, but when we have wars, we don't have to flee and evacuate to hotels, we'll stay in the basement, and we don't have to run to a safe room. By the way, I think I didn't tell you, so my daughters now are 6 and 8, and their bedroom is the safe room. They have bunk beds in there, and that is the safe room. And for those of you who don't know, the safe room, it's like any regular room, but the walls are reinforced, and after the glass window, there's the iron window that closes, that you don't keep it closed all the time, but when things heat up, you go in that room, you close the iron window, you close yourself in. The doors don't lock, but we'll get to that. So that's their bedroom. So the whole basement, we built the whole basement this way. So my parents were sleeping in the basement, and we had shishi Friday night Shabbat dinner on Friday, and we all went to sleep, and like half the time my husband fell asleep on the couch in the living room. So at 6:30, a huge boom woke me up. It's not so unusual. So I didn't get out of bed. Sadly, it's not so unusual. And he ran in and said, Deb, tseva adom. And after I heard the boom, I said, whatever, it's too late. Because when we hear the boom, what we're usually hearing is the Iron Dome either being shot out to intercept it or the interception. We're very close to the Iron Domes. The house shakes. I mean, it's this boom. But it's too late by that time to get out of bed and run to whatever damage might have happened, like has happened. So I said to him, never mind, I'm going back to sleep. But they kept happening. And he said, no, let's go. And we went into my girls' room. And when they were younger, they'd sleep through it, and they don't sleep through it anymore. So they were stirring and waking up, and we said, it's a tseva adom, you're fine, go back to sleep. They kept happening. I mean, I didn't have pants on, I hadn't gone to the bathroom. I didn't have water. We just were like, we have to stay in here. And the girls woke up, and we're all awake. And we closed the thing, and at some point, my dad came up from the basement. What do we do? And we said, just stay in the basement. They're happening too frequently to come out and check what's going on. Just stay in the basement. At which point, we're all awake, and we were risking taking turns going out very quickly to pee. My husband was bringing in water and brought in my pants, and we got a message. I don't remember exactly the order of these two things. We heard gunfire like this, which we don't usually hear. So, okay, someone's firing, hopefully the IDF. Then we got a message on our phone from our kibbutz security staff. Not only stay in the mamad, stay in your house, lock the doors. There's been some ground infiltration. Not in Zikim, but there has been, stay in the house. Lock the doors, close the trisim. The trisim are the metal, like vertical blinds that we have. Turn off your air conditioner, pretend like you're not home, And so we're like, okay. And my girls, of course, were antsy and what's going on and how long do we have to be in here? And I don't know. So at some point we brought the TV in for them so they could watch movies. We made lunch and brought it in, sat on the floor and had a little lunch picnic. And we're trying to keep them calm while we don't know what's going on. And at some point Saturday afternoon, we lost all internet and all cell phone service, which now in hindsight for our specific situation, for us probably was a blessing because I'll get to that. We didn't know exactly what was happening. So when we lost all this and we had no update of what's happening, my husband would leave the safe room to watch the news. And we're like, you can't leave, you can't. But if he didn't go out to watch the live news, we don't know what's happening right outside us. We don't know what's happening in the other kibbutzim, and he's coming in and he's reporting these crazy things to me. Hamas broke through and they propelled and I'm like, what? And we're all in the tiny little mamad, and I don't want my girls to hear because they're used to rockets. But to tell them about like ground infiltration and burning and murders and all these things that started happening. But we didn't quite know everything. So no phone, no internet. At one point on Saturday, when there was a little lull in the rocket fire, I went out to the living room and I looked between the tree seam, and our house is sort of set down and we have this beautiful brick wall, and above us is the security road that goes around the kibbutz with a barbed wire fence. Right on the other side of the fence is a main road that goes to the beach. And I looked out, and right on the other side of the barbed wire, I saw IDF tanks. Feel safe. Yeah, good. Okay. I don't really know what's going on. This is something more than rockets, but we're safe. Here are the IDF tanks. Again, it's good I didn't know what was happening. So that's what I thought was happening. And we decided, we started discussing if we're going to leave or not, but leave to go where. So a few members of the Shabak came to us on Saturday night, and they're bulletproof with their guns, and they're like, do you want to evacuate? Do you want to leave? And we said no, because we thought we're safe and we have security and here are the tanks and we don't know where we're going to leave, and my girls had just fallen asleep. And we said, no, we'll wait, because usually during these wars, there's an organized place of where to evacuate. They take the different Gaza communities to different hotels, which is a nice thing that Israel does for us. So there wasn't an organized place yet, and there was going to be on Sunday morning. So we said, no, we'll stay here. My husband and I pulled mattresses, slept in the girls' room. My parents were downstairs. Hardly slept. And remember, we have no updates. We do not have a phone. We do not have internet. My husband somehow got the update somewhere about the infiltrations that Hamas had gotten into kibbutzim and were going house to house, murdering Israelis, burning their houses. And we don't have a gun. He took out kitchen knives. He took out our kitchen knives and just sort of set them aside in case he has to get to them. We have one window in the kitchen that something in me, I always said to him, like, we can't leave this window like this. We have the size of this, a little bigger than the size of one of these vents. I forget English, thank you. In the other direction, and the window is open and closed, but there's no tree seam. And there's a little measly, pitiful lock, And we butcher papered over it, which isn't going to keep a grenade out, but it would keep, people from you just realize you are not safe. And the mamad doors do not lock because they're not meant for terrorists to get to your home. They're meant for rockets. So my husband set knives aside. We had like a sleepless night. On Sunday morning, the army came back. Wait, I'm missing a part. Hold on, sorry. Since we didn't have phone or internet and we couldn't let anyone know that we're okay, even though we're okay, but we're not sure what else is going on, but we're okay. I have very direct family who's in the Army, my brother-in-law and his son, my nephew. So he had a phone that had special signal, and he knocked on our door Sunday morning and he said, "Your sister's on the phone." She was hysterical. She thought, we were all murdered or kidnapped. She had contacted the consulate, the embassy. She had put up missing person. I mean, it was heartbreaking to think of what the people here went through just because we don't have internet and phone connection. We told her we're okay. Please spread the word that we're okay. Please go post on my Facebook page to everyone that was concerned that we're okay. We're evacuating. We're leaving. We're evacuating. Now, thanks to social media, she also heard we're okay because my sister-in-law in Ashkelon somehow got a hold of my nephew in Zikim that my sister's called. I mean, it was like a whole, phone train through people. So it was enough to let her know we're okay. She spread the word. Maybe she even told Rebecca. She spread the word here that we're okay. We packed up to evacuate. And I'm thinking, I don't know what to pack. How long are we gone? The last time we evacuated, we ran out of underwear. We didn't have this. We didn't have... in Israel, it was still like 80 degrees. I didn't pack blue jeans. I packed up enough for like maybe 2 weeks. My parents packed up. They were supposed to fly out Sunday, the next day. That wasn't going to happen. So they came with us to the hotel. My parents drove with my husband in front of us. I drove with my girls. We were escorted out of the kibbutz. And there's a long, rural road that goes from the kibbutz to the main highway. And we're flooring it. We're going 60, 65. And there's a car stopped in front of the road in front of us with nobody in it. We swerve around, and I see a huge bullet hole in the front. And I later learned that it was Hamas who stole the car, and they were making their way to the next kibbutz to infiltrate and were killed by the IDF. I'm very grateful that my daughters did not see the dead Hamas members on the side of the road as we were evacuating, who had thankfully been killed by the IDF. And as soon as we got to the main road and I got cell service, I had over 200 missed messages, frantic people looking for us. I got all the updates of what had happened, which but I'll share more in a minute. And I learned what we had just survived when I did not have cell service or internet, which the news doesn't really tell you because no one in Zikim died. So you probably won't even know this story. Hamas came in through Israel in several ways on October 7th. This was very strategically planned. This was planned. This was backed by Iran. This was the intelligence information they had was not just from dum-dum Hamas who are burning tires. They knew where they were going. They knew where this kibbutz stores their jeeps. They knew where this family lives. They knew things. They came in, our story in Zikim, I'll get to more of it, what we lived through on Saturday. So we're on the beach. We're a minute and a half drive from the beach, maybe. Between the beach and the kibbutz is our army base. You meet Israelis, half of them will say, "Oh, I served on that army base," or "My son was on that army base," or "I was stationed." It's a popular beach and a popular army base. Terrorists came. I still am I don't know how. Came by boat through the beach at 6-something in the morning. Killed everybody they saw on the beach. And I have a personal story about that in a minute. Broke into the army base, killed soldiers. And you have to remember, these soldiers are 18 to 22 years old. These are kids. Ripped off their uniforms, left them dead and naked, wore their uniforms, stole IDF tanks, which is what I saw. I didn't see the IDF in a tank. I saw Hamas in a tank outside my bedroom window. Approached our kibbutz in tanks, at which point we have a security that a few of them that's their profession, they're our security, but most of them were volunteers. a tiny staff of like 7 to 10 at the most while this was happening. And the tanks approached, and this is all while we're in the mamad, and we hear do and rockets, but we don't have internet. We don't really know what's happening. We've locked everything. They approached our gates, and for a second, our security thought, oh, cool, the IDF. Well, Hamas threw a grenade at our security and pulled out heavy artillery that the IDF doesn't work with, and only because this young 35-year-old father of 3 who was volunteering in our kibbutz acted quick enough, he threw the grenade back. He got hurt. He is in surgery, and they're leaving shrapnel in his leg because it's too dangerous to take it out. I mean, there was still like an explosion, but they were able, there's a few more detailed stories like this, but our security was able to kill them and keep them out of our kibbutz, which is probably the only reason I'm standing here today to tell you, because as you know, they succeeded in about 1,500 slaughterings. Slaughterings. They knew about that music festival. That's not random. And we'll get to how they knew. They knew about that music festival. They went into homes, killed families who were huddling together. If they couldn't get a grenade in the mamad or they couldn't get into the mamad, they burned them alive. There are photos and videos. There is a photo of a burned baby corpse and mom cuddled, clinging to each other. They were burned alive. They went into a home of a family sitting around and eating Saturday morning breakfast. Not only did they murder everyone, they gouged the eyes out of the father, cut the breasts off of the mother, cut the hand off of one of the child, and then they sat down and ate their breakfast. The amount of gang rapes to teens and young women, gang raping them while they were alive, while they were dead. There have been funerals where they have not been able to straighten out the legs of these women, where their pelvises have been broken. These are not freedom fighters. Well, we'll get to that too. So, our first, thing is like, how can this happen? How can this how? Well, I'll tell you some of how. Because Israel lets Gaza residents in. Arabs from Gaza built my house. They are allowed to come in and work, and this is what happens. Not all of them are pro-Hamas and bad, but there were definitely inside information given to some of the workers that worked at Be'eri, that worked at these places, that knew there was going to be a music festival, that knew where so-and-so was living, and he's got a gun, go take his gun, go rape this one, go kill this one, go. And it's not my opinion, it's been proven through interrogation of some of the terrorists that have been caught, that a lot of these atrocities were done by the regular Gazans and not Hamas. And that Hamas actually did the initial breaking into Israel, and then it was the citizens that did a lot of the murdering and the raping and the cheering. And there's Hamas recorded all this. They're proud of it. The murders and the rapes, and if you've seen the one going around about the girl they raped so bad, her pants are all bloody, and then they blindfold her and took her into Gaza and paraded her around. Hamas did the initial breaking in, and they did some of this, but then it was the regular Gazans who went to the house and sat down and ate breakfast and cut up. So, there's a lot that the media is not going to tell you and is not going to show you. And I have personal experience with that because I've been interviewed for 2 major news outlets here. One of them told me she couldn't show any of the footage, any of the photos or videos because I didn't take them. Okay, contact Hamas. They put it on TikTok. Get Hamas's permission. Twin bunk beds splattered in blood. 3-month-old baby shot in the head. The world needs to see these pictures. The world needs to see this stuff. And if the media here doesn't show it and doesn't express fairly what is going on, I can't blame all this rise in anti-Semitism and ignorance. Hamas is not the innocent Arabs or Palestinians. This has to be educated. Freedom fighters don't cut breasts off of women and burn babies. They held down a pregnant woman in her 2nd trimester and cut out her fetus. Where are the women's rights organizations? Where's the Me Too? It doesn't count when they're Jewish women? And I'm sorry, I get very riled up about it, but it's true. So I'm going to tell you from my own experience, one of these news outlets, they met me out here in Highland Park. I talked for 1 hour and 15 minutes, and the interviewer and the cameraman were so pro-Israel, or at least acted so to me, and supported me, and oh my God, and what you've been through, and we have to get the word, and this is crazy, oh my God. She asked me very good questions, like, what do you say to somebody that says Israel's an apartheid state? And I tell them, you're completely uneducated. Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. The Arabs there have all of the rights that the Israelis do, that they will not get in their own countries. We have Arabs in the government. My accountant's an Arab. There's Arab doctors. By the way, there's an Arab Palestinian doctor who lives in our kibbutz. So I had all of these, and I said to her, if I could give one message to the world, it's that Hamas is ISIS. They want to kill everybody. This is a war like against, monsters, ISIS, that want to annihilate not just Jews, Christians, gay, Muslims that don't agree with them. Everybody who's not Hamas is who they want to kill and who they are killing. I said all that, and I had a 3-minute segment on the news, and it was nothing about anything that I had just said that was educational or about October 7th or about Hamas. It was a story about a girl who was living in Israel, but after October 7th came back to her hometown of Chicago, and she's not sure if she'll go back. And that's what it was. And they wouldn't show a single photo, and so my point, I've experienced firsthand what the media here, does. And I know that you're all here because you already know and you already care and you already support, but we need to spread the word. And you need, my husband's not on Facebook. And I said, no, right now you need to be on Facebook because I don't know how else, there's videos and photos and things that I don't know how to share. Also, I moderate a Facebook group. We have 11,000 members now called Life on the Border with Gaza. Things most people don't know but should. We started this group before October 7th, and it was not I'm a moderator, but this woman, Adele Raymer, started it. She's lived in Nearim since the 70s, and there's only 3 or 4 of us moderating because there aren't any English speakers. There aren't so many English speakers living on the Gaza border. So some people are saying, what are you doing all day when your kids are in school? And I'm like, I'm busy moderating this group. We have tons of new members, tons of factual information, and we weed out who's commenting and who's leaving. I urge you to join this group. I urge you to share this group. We have members from all over the world, Jews, non-Jews, Christians supporting Israel. We even have some, Muslims supporting Israel. They need to be careful so they don't get killed. But we've got tons of people in this group. This information, there's a guy I'm moderating it with, Dave Bender, and he used to be a reporter. He lives up north. He's reporting what Hezbollah is doing because they're in this too. There's rockets. I can look at my phone now. I'm sure my app's gone off. There's rockets every day. Is the media here even saying, nah, because who cares? Rocket here and there. Anyway, what needs to just really be clear, I personally, I haven't lived in America in 12 years. I am appalled at the ignorance of especially the young in the teens and the college of this pro-Palestinian and take the side of what needs to be very clear, and I'm saying it maybe for some of the people live streaming and not sitting here, but there's no occupation. It just doesn't exist. There's no occupation. Again, the Arabs in Israel have every right that the Jews have. They're sitting in the government. They're performing surgeries. They're every right. And Israel, go look at a map, because Israel's the size of Lake Michigan. That's our tiny Jewish state, the size of Lake Michigan, surrounded by Arab countries that stretch from ocean to ocean. This is not about land. This is not about land. This is not political. This doesn't matter what your stance is on Bibi, on land, on policy. I'm not going to get into the whole history, but for all these people, I just say, check your facts. This tiny, tiny Israel was almost evenly divided by the UN, Israel and Arab, and the Jews were celebrating in the streets and were attacked by every Arab country. History shows this is not about land. It doesn't matter how much land they get. I'm sure there are some Palestinians in Gaza that really want to live in peace, but Hamas wants to annihilate Jews. Period. Nazis. This is another Holocaust. This is the biggest genocide of Jews since the Holocaust. And it's not just Jews. If you are gay, the best scenario is that you'll be put in jail. That's the best scenario. Being thrown off the roof and dragged around naked in the street by your feet is the most likely scenario. Best scenario is you'll be jailed. I have a video, and one other thing I have a lot of other things. What time is it? Because I could talk all day. But another thing that I want to make clear to these poor Palestinian people, Israel could have wiped Gaza off the map by now if they wanted to. This has taken 6 or 7 weeks because Israel is the most humanitarian army in the world, in my personal opinion, at this point, too humanitarian, in my personal opinion. Before they fight back, and if you think that there should be a ceasefire and they shouldn't fight back, you're just anti-Semitic. That's it. Before they fight back, they tell civilians, we are going to bomb here tomorrow, you guys, so we suggest you move away. Now, what happens? I have this on video for whoever doesn't believe me. If you live in Gaza and you don't support Hamas, you will be killed. And I have a 5-minute video. Think how long 5 minutes really is. I have a 5-minute video of Hamas blindfolding and shooting innocent Gazans who were trying to evacuate and shooting them into mass graves the way that the Nazis did in the Holocaust. So Israel is more concerned about those innocent Palestinians in Gaza than Hamas is. And I know most of you know this, and I'm saying it really for the people embarrassed to come or whose children, or they don't know what to tell their children. Please research that and listen to that. Israel evacuated, I have a video of this too, Palestinians further south and brought tanks to protect those Palestinians that were trying to evacuate. What other country in the world is at war, but they're going to protect the civilians of the other side? But you won't see that on the news, because the little clip at the bottom of CNN, whoever here, will say, and 500 Palestinians flee to safety. Well, what does that imply? That implies that Israel's the big bad guy killing them. But you won't hear that. You won't hear that's how careful the IDF is. Hamas, and there's videos of this too. Whoever wants these videos, join my Life on the Border. Hamas uses hospitals and schools because they know that Israel would never bomb them. And just today I listened to a Gazan woman who said that. She had a sick kid and she had to go to Shifra Hospital. And she said, I was terrified. Hamas was everywhere. There were weapons everywhere. We didn't get the care we needed. So the whole poor Palestinian, yes, poor Palestinians in Gaza, but because of Hamas, not because of Israel. So it really, I'm like, especially the young adults and the parents who have confused kids and the college camp, like, we have to spread the word, you guys, because the media, the media won't. And everyone is just confusing, I'm so liberal and this isn't, don't confuse it, it's not about that. And I think, in my own personal opinion, I lived in New York on September 11th. How quickly we forgot, like, who did that? And they hunted bin Laden down until they got him. Why should Israel not do that for Hamas? And America should thank Israel because you know what? America's next. The rest of the world is next. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. Hamas wants Hamas to rule the world. You're not safe if you're Christian. You're not safe if you're gay. You're not safe if you're Muslim. Anyway, I mean, I could go on and on. I'm sure I'm also forgetting to say something, but there's a part of me, people are like, oh, I'm glad you're safe. And I'm safe from rockets. But there's a part of me being in America, I don't feel as safe as I do in Israel. And I didn't come back here because I didn't feel safe. Because after October 7th happened, and we were evacuated and in a hotel, and the IDF is doing their job now, I feel safe staying there. But I didn't want my children to have this life that we're living out of a hotel room and that I take them outside to roller skate for a minute and they hear a boom in the distance. I mean, if I didn't have a 6 and 8-year-old, I might have stayed. But there's a part of me that feels way less safe here. Like I'm looking over my shoulder in Target. And I don't think I'd want my kids to go to college here. And I've been invited to speak on college campuses, and I've said no so far. Because I'm just me. I don't have a bodyguard. I don't have security. What's happening here is very scary, very scary. And a big part of the reason I'm here to talk to you is I feel it's like the Holocaust, how all the survivors are almost deceased. And then what proof is there going to be? We didn't have social media, now we do, and we have pictures and more visuals of what happened here. But I feel like that's why we go hear survivors speak, to hear their firsthand, I'm not making any of this up, to hear their firsthand experience. And that's why I'm here speaking, because even though we know what happened, like, I really have to tell you what happened, like you have to hear it from a person. And I thank you guys for coming, and it's our job as Jews. It doesn't matter, liberal, conservative, I voted for Bibi, it's not about any of that. This is good against an evil that we have never seen before. Oh yeah, the Nazis used to go out at night to drink, to forget about what they did. Not Hamas. I mean, reporters have said this was more barbaric and atrocious than anything the Nazis even ever did. And I think we have to keep that in mind and not be quiet. One mother said to me, and my kid's so pro-Palestinian, and I just don't talk to him about it anymore because I don't know what to say. No, you can't. I just don't talk to him about it. You have to try. So I personally want to offer you guys my Facebook page, joining the Life on the Border. You meet someone, you're not sure what to say, this didn't happen, that didn't happen, please, I'll send you my videos that happened. So, sorry, I have no notes, and I'm not a professional speaker. I hope I made sense, and I guess we'll open it up to questions, but again, no policy, not that kind of questions, I can't.